Someone must have been telling lies about me, because one ordinary morning, without having done anything wrong, I was arrested. I have spent the year since trying to learn what I was accused of. I never found out. My name is Josef K. I was a senior clerk at a bank. On the morning of my 30th birthday, two men I had never seen were standing in my room, eating my breakfast, wearing black coats. They told me I was under arrest. I asked them what I was charged with. They said they were not permitted to tell me. They were low officials. They only carried out the arrest. The authority that sent them, they said, did not seek out guilt among the population. It was drawn toward guilt. That was the strange thing. I was arrested, but I was not taken anywhere. I was free to go to work, to live my life. The arrest simply followed me, invisible, like a second shadow I could not shake. I told myself it was a mistake, a clerical error. Men like me do not get arrested for nothing. I had a position, a reputation. I decided to treat it as an absurd inconvenience that the right phone call would clear up. A letter arrived. I was summoned to an inquiry on a Sunday at an address on the edge of the city. It did not say the time. It did not say the room. It did not say the charge. It assumed I would simply know. I went looking for the court. The address was a shabby tenement in a poor district, full of crying children and washing lines. There was no sign of any court. I climbed flight after flight of stairs, knocking on doors at random. Finally, a woman let me into a room, and there it was. A courtroom crammed into an apartment. Dozens of people packed shoulder to shoulder, sweating, watching me. A magistrate sat at a small table with a single tattered notebook. I was an hour and 5 minutes late, the magistrate said. He asked if I was a house painter. No, I said. I am the senior clerk of a large bank. The whole room laughed, as if I had said something unbearably naive. I gave a speech. I told them the arrest was an outrage, that there was clearly a vast organization behind it, employing corrupt guards and absurd officials, persecuting innocent people. The crowd murmured. Some seemed to agree. And then I noticed. Every man in that room wore the same badge under his collar. The spectators were not spectators, they were officials. The whole audience belonged to the court. There was no public. There was only the machine, watching itself. I left and did not go back. But the court did not need me to attend. It worked on me from the inside, in offices I would never see, through files I would never read, written by clerks who would never know my face. My uncle heard of the case. He was horrified, not that I might be innocent or guilty, but that a trial like this could stain the whole family. He dragged me to a lawyer, an old sick man who received clients from his bed. The lawyer told me my case was difficult. He had connections, he said, with certain officials. He was preparing a plea. But the first plea, he admitted, was rarely even read. The documents simply joined the others, somewhere, in the dark. Months passed. I could think of nothing else. At the bank, my work suffered. I jumped when the phone rang. I studied the faces of strangers, wondering which of them belonged to the court. The case ate the way I saw the world. Everyone seemed to know about my trial. The way they looked at me changed. Not pity, something worse. The patient, knowing look you give a man who has not yet understood that he is already finished. A client at the bank, a manufacturer, leaned close and told me he had heard of my situation. Everyone connected to the court hears these things, he said. He told me to go see the court painter, Titorelli. The painter, he said, understood how it really worked. Titorelli lived in an attic even poorer than the court. Half-naked children swarmed the stairs, mocking me. The painter received me in a tiny, stifling room hung with identical bleak portraits of judges he had never been allowed to paint from life. He explained the only 3 outcomes: true acquittal, which he had never once seen, only heard of in legends; apparent acquittal, where you are freed, then rearrested, forever; and protraction, dragging the case out so it never reaches a verdict at all. There was no 4th option. There was no winning. There was only choosing the shape of your unending defeat. The court, you said, never forgets a charge, and never, ever declares a man truly free. I left with 2 of his bleak paintings I did not want.
I decided to dismiss my useless lawyer. In his waiting room, I met another client, a merchant who had been fighting his own case for years. He had become a broken, fawning creature, sleeping in a maid's room, begging the lawyer for scraps of hope.
I looked at that man, and I saw what the trial does. It does not punish you with a sentence. It punishes you with itself. It makes the case your whole life, until there is no Josef K left, only the defendant, waiting. One day, my bank sent me to show the cathedral to an important foreign client. The client never came. The cathedral was empty, vast, and almost completely dark, and from a small side pulpit, a priest called my name. He had been waiting for me.
He told me he was the prison chaplain. He said my case was going badly. He said I looked for help in the wrong places, that I was too dependent on others, especially on women. I asked him, "How can you say I am guilty? I don't even know the charge." And then, instead of answering, the priest told me a story. He called it a legend from the writings that introduced the law. He said, "Before the law, there stands a doorkeeper."
A man from the country comes and begs to be let in to the law, but the doorkeeper says, "Not now." The man waits. He waits days, then years. He bribes the doorkeeper, who takes everything only so the man won't feel he left something untried. The man grows old waiting at that gate. His eyesight fails, and as he is dying, he asks the question of his whole life. Everyone strives to reach the law, so how is it that in all these years, no one else has ever come to this door? And the doorkeeper, seeing the man is at his last breath, roars into his failing ear, "No one else could ever be admitted here, because this door was made only for you. And now I am going to shut it." I sat in the dark of that cathedral, and I understood the parable was about me. The door was mine. The law I could never enter was mine. And I had spent my one life waiting at a gate that was only ever going to close. On the evening before my 31st birthday, 2 men in black coats and top hats came to my room again. They were pale and polite. They did not say the word. They did not have to. I put on my coat. I went with them without being asked twice. They walked me to a quiet quarry at the edge of the city, under the moon. I will not describe what they did there. I will only tell you my last thought. The thought of a man who never learned his crime, his charge, or his judge. I thought, like a dog. If you are waiting for someone to explain the thing that is crushing you, the system, the charge, the reason, hear me. The door was made only for you. No one is coming to open it. Do not spend your one life sitting in front of it. Walk while you still can.